Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, guys. How was your day? And then, how was your holiday? Did you enjoy your holiday? And then, please stay healthy and stay safe for everyone wherever you are. First of all, let me introduce our groups. We are from Group 4, consists of 5 members. The first one is Danistia Damayanti, and the second one is Dian Ayu Kusumawadani, and then the third one is Farda Ayu, the fourth is Febi Sekar Ayu, and the last one is Fikriyati Solihah. Okay, last week we talked about boosting your message with your body language, right? And I hope you still remember about this topic because it will related with the topic that we want to talk about. What is that? The topic we want to talk about is using slides and visual in your presentation. Okay, I hope you are enjoying this video and let's start it.
Let's go to the step 1, brand consistency. Why brand consistency? Because brand consistency will help the audience focus on what the presentation wants to deliver. I will give you tips to make the presentation have the most impact. The first one is specific typeface or fonts. If you use variety of fonts in your presentation, you can make the information difficult to follow. To make your audience focus to the presentation, just use the one or the same fonts throughout the project. By selecting and using fonts effectively on your presentation slides, you can increase the impact of your message. Let's move to the number 2, logo and letterhead design. Logo and letterhead design exists to show the presentation identity, what organization or company that designed the presentation. Number 3, color palette. A set of color create a harmony and for functional purpose. Generally, in the presentation, you should limit your color. You must think whether the color is readable for eye and easy to follow. Whatever color set you choose, make sure that the background and the content of your presentation is contrast so it can readable. Let's move to step number 2, creating text slides. I will give the tips to make your presentation effectively. Number 1, make it big. Good presentation has to readable, even from the audience in the back. For the text bullet point, set up the font size at least 24 point font size. Then, if you have any edit information, use at least 18 point font size. These are the minimum limit to make sure the presentation is readable for audience. That's also conditional because you can set up the font size bigger. Okay, then tips number 2, keep it simple. Why it has to simple? Because people usually getting boring when see full of text. You don't want it happen, right? So I will give you tips to fix your presentation. Okay, number 1, no more than 6 lines of the text per slide. Tips number 2, keep it simple. Why? Because people usually getting boring to see full of text. You don't want it to happen, right? So I will give you tips to fix your presentation. Let's go to the tips. No more than 6 lines of text per slide. So you have to be able to summarize your point of your presentation. And then no more than 7 words per line of text. Absolutely, that's a challenge to us if we're not used to be distinct, but you must know that another important is practice make perfect. Use bright color to highlight important points. People's eyes are likely to catch something different, or we can call things as eye-catching. This tip will help the audience know directly what the point the presenter wants to deliver.
I will continue from the step number 2, which is create text slide. The rules number 1 is make it big, and then the next rule is keep it simple. Have you ever found a presentation of your friend or yours that in one slide it has a lot of text? Well, after you watch this video, I want you don't do that again, because instead of listen to you, your audience will just read the text on your slide. You know, that won't be good. And then the next tips is use a different color in a certain word. I mean, it's a keywords. So it is in order to attract your audience on important things. Rules number 3 is make it clear. Don't ever use a font that is hard to read. For example, like a font that is written in a Latin form is really hard to read. So just use a good and simple one, and then don't make all of your word in capital letters. That will distract your audience. And then mind your color. I mean your color in a sentence, because for example, if you use a light background, you want use a light color on your text. So if you use both color in a light color, so that your audience is kind of hard to read your text. So just use a color that is readable for your audience. And then step number 4 is follow a logical sequence. In order to explain your material to your audience, it is important to follow a sequence. Here's some useful idea about it. Number 1, use a pair of identical slides in the beginning of your presentation and in the end of your presentation, which summarize your points so that it helps the audience kind of remember it. And then the second step, or step number 2, is create signposts. A signpost slide can help the audience and you yourself or the speakers where stages are we at now, or where stages are we at now, so that you won't be confused because there's no signpost slide. So it's really useful to use a signpost slide. Step number 3, decide on the right visual. When things are undescribable, you might consider help from a picture or image or a visual. It can be illustration, diagram, or a picture. However, in a presentation, a picture can help to boost your presentation really well. In the other hand, not suitable or a bad visual can leave your presentation flop. So you might need to consider about, should you use any visual, is it necessary, and not which visual should I use, because sometimes you don't have to put any visual if it's really unnecessary. So I have these 3 benchmark about something to help you decide on the right visual. The first one is, does it back up your argument? Like a visual should synchronize with what you're saying. It should represent. And then if it's not, you may rethink about it. Should you use that visual or not? Number 2 is, does it clarify a tricky points? When you have no idea to explain something that are really complicated, like how a machine works, you may need a visual to help you so that your audience can understand easily without your explain it so hard and just didn't transfer it to your audience. So a visual can help you on explaining something that are complicated, but it should be clarified that one. Number 3 is, does it make an impact? Like, your visual, does it make an impact? Does it sum up your message? If yes, then you're doing good, you're doing great with the visual choice. But if it's not, you may leave it like you may not using the visual because it should make an impact in your presentation. It should sum up your message. So that's the 3 benchmark to help you decide on the right visual.
Okay guys, this is step 4. In this step involve 5 steps. The first step is use picture not word. In designing visual, use as little text as possible. If you do need to add words, for example in label on graph, titles on organization charts, stages on workflow diagrams, you have to make sure they are still in decent font size, 18 minimum preferably. They are horizontal wherever possible for ease of reading. Even if they have to be vertical, the letters are horizontal. The next step is try some icebreaker. The use of visual as icebreaker in early of your presentation can help to warm up the audience and to get you over the jitters. However, if you are not joke teller and you use joke in your presentation, your joke can be flat. Another option is use cartoons. But make sure the content and implication of the cartoons is switched with your presentation. Next steps is titles for visual. Usually, the presenter make a mistake of putting a general label, for example, sales in 2004. It would be better if presenter write the specific title so that the audience know what our presenter talking about. For example, the decreasing sales in 2004. To be noted, make the title of a visual the same as its message. The next steps is choose the right kind of chart. Charts are the ideal way to convey information instantly. However, different charts are appropriate for different kinds of information. There are 5 kinds of charts. The first one is line chart. The slope of the line instantly tells the viewers the direction of the trend. Second is vertical bar chart. The head of the bars shows the comparative cost. And the third one is horizontal bar chart. The length of the bar gives its ranking. The label on identifies the item. The next is pie chart. This is the simplest way to show proportions as long as there aren't too many slices. 5 maximum is ideal. The last example is map chart. Map chart is to distinguish among regions by using different colors, shadings, or symbols. The last step is build up an image. If you have complicated concept to communicate, it can be very effective to break your image up into stages and introduce one at a time. PowerPoint is the ideal medium for doing this. Okay, say for example, you are showing an intricate organizational design. You could start with the top executive and then add the directors who report to them, and then the group manager, then the department heads, and so on. So if you wanna know the image of the chart, you can see in our PowerPoint. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Once you have your visuals, you need to make the best use of them during the presentation to reinforce what you want to talk about. And in this part, I will mention 3 important points related with visuals. The first one is, unless a visual is completely obvious or self-explanatory, you need to discuss or at least revert to it. What it means? It means that visual is an important thing of presentation, and by using visual, it will help your audience to easily understand what you want to talk about. And by using visual, it also can help you, because visual with using visual, we don't need too much explanation, because visuals could represent what you want to talk about. And the second one is, make sure you don't block your audience view of the visual. You could even step aside for a moment and let people look at it properly. So you need to give, and also you need to give time or space to your audience to see the visual clearly, and then after that you can continue your explanation. The last point is, once the visual has made its point, take it down, otherwise it may become a distraction. What it means? That, like I said before, that visual is an important thing in your presentation, but there is another important point that you want to show with your audience, there is a point of your material you should to explain to your audience, right? So be careful with the visual. You may make a visual as interesting as possible, but don't forget to mention the important thing of your material to your presentation. So don't make your visual distract the point of your material that you want to show to your audience. Thank you.
Now we are going to talk about common mistake. First, you make things too complicated. Keep it simple is the important point. A lot of people forget about that. Sometimes this is due to lack of time. It can take much longer time to think about a point and reduce it down to its importance. But if you want to make your presentation, you need to think about that. And you forget to check for error. It's one of the most common mistakes to ruin your presentation. It doesn't matter how good your presentation is, but if you misspell the first word on the title page, or you mispronounce a name, especially as an important person, your credibility is going to be questionable. So check for error. Don't forget about that. Now I'm going to talk about 10 steps to success in your presentation. First, make sure it's all consistent and competent. 2. Use large font sizes that can also be read from the back of the row. 3. Cut out text except for important points. 4. Check for clearness and readability of all font and color. 5. Follow logical order of your presentation. And 6. Decide whether visual are necessary, so don't give too much visual, okay? 7. If so, make sure that they are well designed and suitable for the rest of your presentation. 8. Regarding your visual, think about using prop, for example, like pen. 9. Be careful not to make it too complicated. And 10. Again, check for error. I recommend you to use Grammarly to check your presentation.